Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I'm joined by former mob enforcer Tommy Harding. Tommy was a debt collector for the mob and other organized crime groups. He is very lucky to be able to share his story today. A lot of the criminals he was around are no longer living. I would consider this an exclusive interview. Not many people have gotten the chance to interview him. Please share this show with your friends that you think will enjoy this video. Tommy's book named Hardening is in the video description below. I highly recommend it. He was so deeply involved with organized crime and was able to turn his life around without becoming a government informant against them. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this. Tommy's got quite the redemption story, so sit back and relax and enjoy this sit down with me and Tommy Harding. Tommy, thank you for coming on my show, man. I've been really looking forward to this interview, man, and you got a really good book. I enjoyed it, and you just got a lot of good stuff that fits with what my show's about. You got a great redemption story, so, man, I appreciate you taking out some time and coming on, man. How you feeling today?
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm feeling okay. You're talking to a guy who just had minor surgery yesterday. Had my hernia surgery yesterday, so I'm kind of under the weather today, but I don't let things keep me down. I got to keep moving, man. I just gotta keep moving, but I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking.
Well, good. I'm glad we still were able to make this show happen.
Yeah.
And,
I didn't mean to. I didn't want to reschedule because my schedule is all crazy.
Same here, man.
So I said, you know what? I'm not in the hospital bed. I'm fine. If I was in the hospital bed, I'd probably do it anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Hell, right?
Yeah, well, to give people, an understanding of who you are and who you became to this point today, and redeeming your life and, doing a lot of good stuff and a lot of projects that you got going on. I mean,
Yeah.
What was your early life like? And what, because you were involved with crime for a little while. And I mean, what was it like? I mean, your family and everything. And what was the environment growing up?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Let's see, there was a total of 8 of us. My parents, Tommy Harding Sr. and my mother Margaret, they each had 2 kids when they met. So there was 4, and then together they had my brother Benny, they had me, my brother Vito, and my little sister Darlene. So it was a total of 8. But the other 4 that they had prior to us, they were a lot older than us. You know what I'm saying? Because my dad was actually 20 years older than my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 20 years older than my mother. And but we lived in a white neighborhood. My dad was very good with his hands. Very good with his hands. This guy could fix anything. And he was an electrician, a plumber, or a mechanic. He could fix anything. If it's not broken, he can make it better. But the downside to that is that he was also an alcoholic. So how we end up in Borough Park, Brooklyn, my father was the superintendent of a building there, and we lived in the basement apartment. Now, as a kid, it was great. I mean, wow, I'm a little kid. And this basement was so vast. It was so wide. I got my brothers, my sisters, and we're just having a blast living in that basement, riding our bikes in the back and just putting a flashlight on the bike and just riding in the dark and doing all kind of craziness. And we had a ramp in the backyard. We had a backyard our basement connected to a backyard and had a ramp that went up. And we can actually, when it snowed in New York, we can actually ride the sleds down the ramp. I mean, it was great. It was great until my dad started to do his binge drinking, and everything changed at that point. We could see it coming. He goes out and he's gone for a while. No one knows where he's at, and when he comes back, he's staggering. Now you gotta understand something. My dad, they called him TG. They didn't call him Tommy. They called him TG because I'm named after him, Thomas George Harding. Everybody just calls me Tommy, but everybody called him TG. When TG got home, it was hell to pay. My mother was part white. We're mixed. Okay, my mother's got Polish, Italian, Indian. My dad, he's African American. He's from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I was from New Jersey. And my mother could pass for white. You follow what I'm saying? So when he would get drunk, he would use racial remarks toward her a lot, and it was horrible. He would break. He was very violent. TG was very violent. He'd break up stuff in the house, break the TV, break it. I mean, just going nuts. And me and my brother Benny's 2 years older than me, but Benny was not like me in a way. I was more or less like I took the lead because I was a mama's boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put my little brother, my little sister in the back room, and we would, try to get my father to stop with his cussing and screaming and yelling and breaking up stuff. And then with the violence hitting my mom, and I was how was I at that time when I started recognizing him? I was probably about 7 or 8.
Really young.
And it went on for many, many years.
It's
yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, I have a, alcoholic father, you know what I mean, but he's functioning and everything, you know what I mean. So it's not as bad as, compared to your story, but I mean, it's like, it is, it is heartbreaking, having to go through that and, protecting your younger siblings and having to take lead and, then your mother on top of that, trying to look out for her and make sure she don't, get hurt or, her feelings, you're trying to calm her down and stuff. So I get it, man. It's, it can be rough, man. And I'm sure.
It was one of the most scariest things that my father used to do. He had this 38 snub nose, black, and it had a pearl handle. I'll never forget that as long as I live, that gun, because he pulled it out so many times, and he kept it in a shoebox in his closet. And he would what my dad would do, he would take the gun out, put it on the kitchen table, and start threatening my mom, cussing at her, saying, "Cook me some food, bitch. Get your fucking white ass in there, cook me some food." And he had the gun on the table, and all of us were petrified. My mom was trying to tell us to get back. But I was watching my dad a lot. And I seen when he was putting it. One day, when he came back drunk, and I knew he was going to probably try and get the gun again. So I told my brother Benny, I said, "Benny, let's go get the gun and hide it. Let's go get the gun." So we go into the room and go in the closet. I see my dad do it a million times. I take the gun out of the box because Benny didn't want to touch it. And what I did was I says, if he can't find it, he's going to go crazy. So what I did was I emptied the bullets out of it. And I put the gun back and I put the bullets in my pocket. Unbeknownst to me, my dad did do that. He did his rage thing. He broke up a few things, a few dishes, got my mother all worked up crying and stuff. And he goes, "I'm going to go get my gun, bitch. I'm going to get my gun. I'm tired of this bullshit. I pay for everything." And whatever. It's just craziness, right? He goes, he gets the gun. He sets it on the table. And I'll never forget this for as long as I live. He put the gun on the table. I'm standing next to my mother. And I said, "Mom, there's no bullets in the gun." But in fact, my mother went like this because she knew I touched the gun.
Yeah.
So that was one of the occasions. He never found out about that, by the way. He never found out that the gun was empty. And we just kept it empty for as long as we could. And so one day he went in there and he raised hell and he loaded his gun. But that was just part of the stuff that we were going through. The cops would come, right? It would get to a point where the cops would come, but you got to understand something. This is in the 1970s, okay? The mid 70s, I don't know, 1974, some shit like that. And the cops, they know my father because they drove my father home plenty of times from the area bars.
Yeah.
In the 70s. So when they get over there, they would, just talk to my dad, whatever. It was more, less, this guy works hard, he drinks, so what? But I'm telling them he's hitting my mother. Back then they really didn't pay attention to that. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't.
It was like if it's between them, it's their marriage, kind of thing. But now it's way bigger of a deal, which is a good thing. But I mean, as a kid for you growing up, that had to have seeing him get being dropped off by the police and everything. I mean, were the police ever called on him and your mom, or and where he was arrested? Was there ever a situation?
My father was never arrested for drinking. Matter of fact, a few times the cops brought him home in their car and would let my mother know where his car was. We'll pick it up. Yeah,
that's different, man. Now
That
You
was,
go
that
to
was a
jail.
whole different time, man.
Yeah.
And I
Well.
witnessed it. See, the good thing about this is about my father is that he taught me how to drive at a very young age.
Mhm.
And I was driving him around with no license. I was driving him. I was like 10, 11, driving him in his car to the bars. And at that time, back in the 70s, you could bring your kid into the bar and put him on the pinball machine while he's over there drinking and womanizing women and stuff like that. I see my father do that 1,000 times. I would go with him and I would drive him. My mother would not like that, but my mother was not in a situation to do anything about it at that time.
Yeah.
There's nothing she could do. But what happened was, as time went on and I got older, I started working out, I started training, I started hitting the streets. I wanted to find a connection with somebody. There was no connection at home with none of us. Everyone was suffering in a different way. My brother Benny was suffering in a different way. My sister Darlene, my younger brother Viotis, my other brother St. Clair, and Renee were drug addicts. Me, I just hit the streets, and that's when I got into a street gang called the Warlords. I was about 15 years old.
So when you joined with them, what was how did you come across them, and were you initiated, or what
Oh
was it like?
man, um, Robert Franza. I went to school. I went to the school called Shallow Junior High School.
Uh-huh.
Okay, of course, it's an Italian neighborhood, and I got the Italian accent. Trust me, you do become where you grow up when you're raised up. That's how it was. I
Yeah.
walked to school, right? There was this guy in my class named Richie Franza. He was
Mhm.
an Italian guy, Richie Franza. We called him Big Bird
Yeah.
because Richie was really tall. He was like 6'2" at the time in junior high school, 6'2",
Yeah,
and
that's
he had
pretty
this
big.
bushy hair. And everybody at that time knew who Big Bird was.
Oh yeah.
So we just called him Big Bird because he was so tall and he had that freaking hair, yellow hair. He's just Big Bird. Me and him became really good friends. And then one day he mentioned to me, he said, my brother Robert, is the leader of this gang that we're in called the Warlords. And he was telling me all the things that they do and money that they make and partying that they do. And I was like, sounds good to me, you know. So he asked me to meet up with him one day at this park called Satellite Park on the Utrecht Avenue in Brooklyn. I think it was on 71st Street. I met up with Robert, and there was a few people there, a few girls, and a few other people that I got to know. Uh, Louis, Louis Damasi. We had a guy named Willie Rodriguez, Puerto Rican guy. Tito. His real name was Adrian, but we just called him Tito. So it was a mixture of colors and races. And
Yeah.
they're wearing these jean jackets, cut off sleeves, and on the back it said Warlords on it. Warlords of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I was
And
liking that. I was like, wow, this is like a family. This
so
is
that's
awesome.
where, yeah, you found your connection that you were
Yeah,
looking for.
found a little bit of. I thought I found a little bit of connection
Well,
there.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you were with them for a couple
Oh,
years, or how
I
long
was
were
with
you with
them.
them?
We were doing some silly stuff. Richie's brother Robert was how can I say Robert and Phil. I didn't get along with Phil.
Mhm.
Phil was kind of racist in a way, and he didn't like. He didn't particularly want guys of color being on the Warlords. All right, but Phil was a little rat bastard. He was like a little rich kid trying
Mhm.
to trying to act like he's tough, and I saw through him. I know exactly. Let me tell you something. Being raised by my dad and the shit that I went through, there's nothing that you could say to me or do anything that could scare me. So Phil tried to do that a few times. We fought a few times. I wouldn't call it fighting because me kicking his ass is not a fight. That happened quite often. Robert liked Phil. You know what I'm saying? Robert really liked Phil. I mean, they were really good friends. Robert was in charge, but he didn't know what he was really doing. And the initiation to get into the gang was they told me I had to ride on the back of a subway all the way to Coney Island. And I thought they were joking at the beginning, but Big Richie Bird had told me about it. So I said, sure, sure, sure. So there was this, and here's the crazy thing. and this is the truth.
What's
You will
that?
never get any BS from me. If you remember this movie called The Warriors, filmed in 1979, that was actually filmed in our neighborhood. That the scene when they were the orphans, they had the orphans, that gang, the orphans and the warriors, and they were in front of this auto mechanics place, and it was a train station right there that they jumped the turnstiles to get on the train. That was the same train station that I went to ride the back of the subway.
Oh man.
The N
Man.
train. It was the N train that went straight to Coney Island.
So you just jumped on there.
Oh, yeah. Now, check this out. The back of those trains back in 1979, 78, they had handles. You can actually hold on. There's handles because the workers use those to pull themselves up.
Right.
So there are handles there. What we have to do is get into the back. A lot of people don't realize this. When you go to the New York back in the 70s and you go on a subway platform, there's numbers like 6, 4, 7, 9. Those are the numbers of how many cars are going to be on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we kind of figured out where it was going to stop at. And certain times they have the 8 car. Most of the trains have eight cars. I call them cars, 8 cars connected. So we just get into the back, which is number 8, and wait for the train to come. You know when a train is coming?
How?
In the tunnel, you don't hear it. You feel the suction of the air. All of a sudden, you get this breeze, and you can smell the tracks and everything. And then it'll take about 15 or 20 seconds. You'll start to hear the rumble of the train coming, and then you'll see the lights.
Gee.
Okay.
So you're someone that's done
up, when it pulled up, everybody was in the back. They had to cover the window so the passengers can't see me hanging on. Okay. So no sooner as that happened, was I scared? Hell yeah. But did I have balls? Of course. You know, I'm not gonna let these guys say that I don't. It was stupid, but you know, I jumped on the back, and let me tell you, it was fun. To me, it was fun. You know, just holding on, and they're laughing in there, and some of the girls are actually back in those days. They wore tube tops. The girls would flash me.
Gee.
You know, they were in the train. The girls that were hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Angela and Lisa. I talk to Lisa all the time. Me and her are great friends. I mean, we still talk. Unfortunately, my friend Angela, she passed away 2 years ago. She hung out with us in the Warlords. We all kept in, most of us kept in contact. So that was it, the initiation. We rode to Coney Island. But the thing about it is, when we got to Coney Island, the last stop in Coney Island is called Stillwell Avenue, which is Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue. Once I got off, the police had seen me get off the back of the train and told me to stop. Okay, I'm 15 years old. I'm sort of a rebel, and when the cops tell me to stop, I run faster.
Yeah, I figure so. You ain't stopping.
We all ran. I mean, we just ran. I was fast when I was younger. I was fast. I mean, I'm 6'4" and I'm 270 now. Right? I couldn't run the trail now. But I was thin when I was 15. I was really in shape, and I just dusted everybody. And we actually ran to the beach from Stillwell Avenue, jumped down, going down the stairs. Everybody's getting out of our way. There's so many of us. I think it's about 8 or 9 of us that night, and we're laughing, going to the beach on Coney Island. And yeah, I thought that was cool. But what we started to do after I got it hooked up, and you smoke a little pot, hang out. We were doing burglaries.
What were your burglaries that you were doing?
We were doing burglaries in my building because I could get keys. My dad was the super.
Yep.
I knew who was home and knew who wasn't home. And if we didn't have the keys for the apartment, we would go up to the roof, and then come down the fire escapes. And a lot of people leave their windows unlocked. And we would just knock on the door. What we do is knock on the door, see if anybody answers. If nobody answers, that's pretty much nobody's home. And I pretty much knew everybody in the building and who they were and who's going to be there and stuff like that. And we were just doing thievery. And then we go into stores like Woolworth, A&S, Abraham and Strauss in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, shoplifting, back in those days, we got into stealing cars like crazy.
What would you do with them?
Oh man, we took them to chop shops.
Oh, and they would
See, that's
actually.
when I started. That's when I started to kind of graduate a little bit. I
Mhm.
started meeting a lot of influential, organized people in Brooklyn.
Were they
And
like wise guys, like the Italians?
yeah, in Bensonhurst and Bay Ridge, Dyker Park.
Are you able to say any names
No,
of these
I
guys?
don't say. I don't never. I don't never do that. Even though it's been so long, I don't mention any names.
I
Um,
thought I'd ask just in case
I
you did.
no, that's fine. That's fine. Trust me. The only one name, the only one person that I named is in my book, and we'll get to that shortly.
The
But
collection guys you were doing it with, right?
yeah, I don't. Nah, these guys are very serious,
Yeah.
and you got to understand something. Here's the deal. Okay, when I started gradually, when I was stealing cars and doing burglaries, I was getting tired of the little mini gang stuff, and I started meeting some older guys, and I was getting big. I was growing. I was growing, and then I started working out. When I was like 15, I was working out with weights. At 15, every day, I just fell in love with it because I went and I saw this movie called Pumping Iron, and I was starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno, Mike Katz, all these guys, and I instantly fell in love with bodybuilding.
Oh yeah,
And
those guys were huge, man.
oh my gosh, man, I loved the movie, and I couldn't afford weights when I first started, so I went to the junkyard and I got rims off the cars that match, and I got a pipe, and I started getting different size rims and putting them in my basement because I couldn't afford to buy weights, and I was just using that as my gym. I
Very
mean,
creative, man.
yeah, I was using that, and I had stacks of rims, man, just all in my basement. I was just using that for a while until I was able to afford some Lou Ferrigno weights,
Yeah. Well,
and yeah,
I mean, you've got creative with it. I mean, it sounds like you know how to, you're
yeah,
smart with stuff and how to figure stuff out. And,
yeah.
whether, you were, growing up as well, doing the crimes and doing the, little robberies and then the chop shop stuff. But I mean, it all factored in with you becoming this debt collector, enforcer for the mob, I suppose,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's steps, man. It's a lot of steps. Trust me. I didn't have any criminal record at all until I got involved uh, with these people I'm going to tell you about in a little while. But what happened in the neighborhood, I was meeting a lot of influential guys, and they're called Shylocks. You ever heard that name, Shylocks?
Yeah, it's like a loan shark or a bookie, right?
Yeah,
That's what they
well,
are.
they do. No, Shylocks are guys like us. We're the Shylocks. Shylocks are guys that collect money. Yeah, collect money that we work for the loan shark. We work
Okay.
for these people.
Mhm.
And I started, guys are saying, Tommy, man, you need to come with us, man. Now, a lot of those guys back in the day liked me, but a lot of those guys didn't like me because I was African American. I
Mhm.
got called nigger by guys that I was hanging out with at that time. Man, I'm not gonna hang out with that nigga. Fuck that
Sheesh.
shit.
That's
But
terrible.
here's the thing. Right? A lot of guys that liked me introduced me to Irish and Italian guys that didn't mind using me.
Mhm.
They like
Yeah.
my attitude. They said, this guy thinks he can handle himself. You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
that's when I started working for them and protection money, for protection and stuff like that. And then I
Um,
graduated again. I got out of what happened was my whole life changed when I turned 17. Okay. When I turned 17, my friends, Neil and Ray, wanted to take me to Manhattan because I was still a virgin at 17.
right, I remember from the book.
Yeah, I was still a virgin. So they wanted to take me to a whorehouse in Manhattan at 17 years
Oh,
old.
my
So we
yeah.
jump on the train, we're getting between the cars, smoking weed, drinking beer, doing that. You know what I'm saying? So we get to Manhattan, and then Manhattan, you should know this. You've been to Manhattan, right?
I've been in New York,
Yeah.
not
Well,
I
not
went there a couple times, but
yeah.
not maybe not there.
But in the 70s, once you get off of Times Square,
Yeah, I've been to Times Square.
everybody's handing out flyers, paper flyers. There's no cell phones. There's no none of that. It's pay phones and flyers. someone handed me this flyer, and on the flyer it said Hellfire Club, and it said it's a BDSM S&M club. And I'm like, what is that? And they had some girl scantily dressed, gladly dressed on the flyer. And I'm like, I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go there. You know. So we initially, of course, we went to the whorehouse. We did that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to go to that club. I don't know why, but I wanted to go to that club. But see, you got to understand something. At that time, I was using cocaine, I was snorting coke
Mm-hmm.
and drinking. Now you got to understand something. Back in the 1970s, you can go into a movie theater, smoke a cigarette, smoke a joint, and nobody gives a shit.
That's insane to really think about.
You could do that in the 1970s. Now we would go, me and my friends, we would go to the XXX theaters,
Mm-hmm.
right? XXX theaters.
Yeah.
And in these XXX theaters, they have sex on stage.
I've heard of that, man. I've interviewed some other guys from your area.
They're having sex on stage.
That's so weird. That's a weird concept.
I was like, I'm 17 years old. I'm snorting coke. I'm drinking, smoking weed. I'm like, holy, and I'm a virgin.
They're like, this is great.
And but then first they'll put the movie on. You get the movie.
Yeah.
And then when the movie's over, it goes up, and then the curtains come apart and back, and a bed comes out. A fucking bed comes out. And the guy with his robe, the girls with her robe, they come out and they do some little scene. They're talking a little bit, but they're not really paying attention to us. They're getting into each other. And I'm like, I got to get closer. I want to get real close. And I could not believe it. Now, after they would have their sex, everyone would clap. You know, wow, yeah, great, great. Everyone's got hard-ons, whatever the hell. Girls would come out from the back and walk up and down the aisles soliciting prostitution to go to rooms in the back.
Oh man, that's where they got you.
you got everything there. You got the film, you got them actually having sex, and you got a freaking solicit it right there.
Yeah.
So did that. Of course, that's how I broke she was a Philippine woman, and she was very gentle with me. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just an experience that I wanted to do it more, come back there more.
Does she know it was your first?
Of course, they know. They know. I was acting like a badass. I changed my name. I didn't say my name was Tommy. Get a different name and all that kind of stuff. But after that was done, I wanted to go to that club.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of guys left. The only ones that went to the club was me and Neil DeAngelis. I can say his full name. That's Neil DeAngelis. We're still friends today. We go to 14th Street. It's on 14th Street and 10th Avenue. And the crazy thing about this, Adrian, there's a line of limousines, right? A line of limousines.
Mm-hmm.
And the club is, it's underground.
Underground.
It's underground.
Now this is exclusive, man.
Yeah, this is underground. And I was like, how the hell are we going to get in there? And there was a little bit of a line there. You know, it was people online, and they were dressed in like Gothic stuff, you know, dark and crazy. I mean, just weird chains and all kinds of weird stuff. I'm like, damn, this is kind of cool. You know, so we waited online, with hanging out and chilling and trying to talk to people. And we go down now. Check this out. Once you go, the building is right on 14th Street. It's like a triangular building. It's still there. We just filmed there. Okay? Yeah. And you go down into the basement, and you can start to hear the music dumping. You hear the music dumping. I'm like, holy shit, that's kind of cool. And then once you go inside the door to your right, there's a booth there. And this is how my life changed. I met a guy named Irish Jimmy. This guy had gold frame glasses, mustache, a DA haircut, skinny guy, nice polyester shirt, jewelry from the all over his neck, his hands, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he goes, "Are you guys members?"
What'd you tell him?
I go, "No, man, nah." He says, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Tommy." He says, "You got ID?" I said, "Yes, my friend Neil." Neil was 4 years older than me, right? And he goes, hey, you can't come in here. And I'm like, why? Why not? He says, you're too young. You got to be over 18. We started talking. I said, oh, I didn't know. I thought maybe I'd get in. I'm 17. I thought maybe I can get in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then he thought about it for a few minutes. And you know, you get a connection with somebody. You could feel it.
Oh, yeah.
I felt a connection with him. And I think he felt it with me. He goes to me, he goes, don't cause any trouble. I'm going to let you in. Don't cause any trouble. All right. And he didn't even let us pay.
No,
Come to find out later that it's like $60 per person to get in that place.
60. And he let you guys in.
Per person to get in. Now, you got to understand something. I'm 17. I never seen anything like this. We go inside the club, and I'll never forget it. The bar is like a square. Took the whole front when you walk in. You got to go through another doorway. The whole bar. There's women on the bar, doggy style, getting spanked, naked. There's a stage there. Girl performing hot candle wax on nipples thing, type of thing.
Jeez.
And I'm like, this is me. What the fuck? There's guys over there. Now there are gays. There were gays people in there. They were making out. Lots of lesbian activity going on. And there was a tub. I noticed this. There was a freaking tub. Go towards the back. There's a tub there, and there was a lot of people around it. There was a girl in the tub, and some guy was peeing on her.
What?
Yeah, he was peeing on her. I couldn't fucking believe it. He was peeing on her. And I'm like, damn, this is crazy. And it was big. It was big.
Yeah.
Then you go into the back. Back, there's you go all the way to the back. There's like a roulette thing. You know how what's that show? Oh my gosh, a game show, Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this thing that turns around, whatever. Oh no, it's not the Wheel of Fortune. Price is Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like a roulette table, but it's standing straight up and down. And there's some girl with her arms on it, her legs strapped, and it's spinning her. And it says something that she has to do when it stops. Kiss this one, jerk that, something. Where there was a whole bunch of different sexual innuendos written on there. I was like, fuck, this is unbelievable. This is unreal. And they were having penetration sex in the back rooms. Penetration sex. There was a lot of slave thing going on with the chain and pulling girls and got guys on all fours, and it was craziness. That's when I found out what S&M and BDSM was.
Yeah, so you were like, oh my, now you knew exactly what you got.
Now I know what it is. Now I didn't know what was that. I have no clue. Neil was like flabbergasted. He just couldn't believe it. You know, he loved it. He thought he was in heaven. And then to move along, before the night was over, Jimmy had called me over to him. And he liked my side. I said, what do you do? He says, what do you lift? How old? I mean, you're 17. What are you, a bodybuilder or something? I said, yeah, I work out a lot, you know. And I asked him, I said, they had security guys in there and stuff, you know. I said, if you can ever use me for anything, you know, that would be great, you know, to get a job with you, whatever. And I'd given him my phone number, I believe at that time, give him my phone number. And I wanted to go back there. And as time, a lot of other things went on, but as time went on, me and Jimmy connected, and he hired me. He started paying me $200 a night. And I worked 4 nights a week. I was making $800 a week, and I was 18. But he told me to come back when I was 18. So I came back when I was 18.
Okay.
And I came back when I was 18 years old, and I was making $800 a week just for working at the club.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but check this out. Oh man, it got even better. They had a count room in there. When I was working there, the count room is in back of the office. See, when you walk into the club, that's the booth where you pay to get in. But the wall on the other side, there's another office. That's the count room, and very few people were allowed in there. And me and Jimmy became friends. Man, I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy. I told Jimmy everything that was going on with my dad at that time. And you gotta understand something. My father, when I got big, and it didn't happen anymore because I didn't allow it. You know, he wouldn't do that. He started getting older, and I was bigger, and most of Benny was gone. Benny had left. Renee had left. Saint had left, and I was taking care of my mother. I was giving my mother money. Eventually, I got my mother her own place. You know, he wanted to divorce my mom, And he did. They got divorced. And then my dad moved to Florida. My dad, believe it or not, my dad wanted my mother back so bad in worse way I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe this. My mother was happy when he left. Now, my mother knew that I got myself involved with, because she seen me with all this money. I was driving Cadillacs. I had so many different Cadillacs, they would call me Tommy Caddy. This guy named Bobby McMahon, an Irish guy. He was like a gangster, really cool guy, Bobby McMahon. That's his real name. I can say his name, Bobby McMahon. Some names I can say, some names I can't.
I feel it.
He's deceased. He's deceased anyway.
Yeah.
He called me Tommy Caddy because I love Cadillacs. I was always getting a different Cadillac. I drive it for a few months, and I want a different one. You know?
So you're gonna get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it. But it came with a high cost. Okay, don't kid yourself. I was doing some really dangerous stuff. I was sent to Brooklyn to take control of the Hispanic clubs that were in Sunset Park. It's called Sunset Park. It's called Sunset Park, but there is a Sunset Park, but that's the neighborhood, Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was a lot of Spanish clubs out there, Mexican clubs as well. And I was sent there to get protection money from them. In other words, I go in there and I act like I own the fucking place, and threaten them and tell them they got to pay us. If they don't pay us, I'm going to burn your place down. Okay. First of all, I'm not proud of any of that stuff I did. None of it. Okay. But that's what I did. I burned one thing I'll tell you for sure. Once you burn one place down and they're hearing about you and you go to them for your money, they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you or they're going to kill you. And they decided to pay me. And
So, for me, I was going to add in a little bit. So at this time, you were being a bouncer, but then when you were 18, it evolved into you being a collector, debt collector for the Mafia, I suppose. I mean, and not particularly.
I don't like that word.
What do you like call it?
I call it organized crime. Let's call it organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people get when they hear Mafia, they think Italian.
Yeah.
All the time. No, it's all organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The mob, they call it the mob, the wise guys, whatever. But to me, my personal word is organized crime because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
To me, organized crime. Yes, I got heavily involved in that, not only for protection, but gambling debts. I was collecting money from guys that played a number and that owed Jimmy. And this is all stuff that Jimmy was an underboss. He had a boss over him. And the boss, you probably know, he's from South Boston.
Who was the boss?
South Boston.
Bolger. The Whitey Bulger.
I'm just going to say, Mr. Bulger ran a lot of stuff from in the 80s out there to Brooklyn as well.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? I never met him. I'm not going to say I never met him. And I don't know, but that's from what I heard. But I know Jimmy was an underboss.
Okay.
And but it got into collections, gambling. Oh my gosh, they were not. The only thing they weren't into was two things: prostitution and drugs. Jimmy did not like drugs at his club. You can use drugs,
but don't be selling
them. But you can't be selling drugs. That was one of his things that he told me when I was down there. Trust me, I found out who people that were selling drugs down there, and they weren't allowed there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So it got crazy. It got really crazy. I got so full of myself, it was ridiculous. I'm going to these clubs in Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, acting like I'm running shit. And I go there with a few guys with me, and they were my guards. I was the one that did the talking. And a lot of people were listening. They were listening. These guys that I was working with, I'll just call them Joey and Frankie, that I wrote about in the book. That's not their real names.
Okay.
These guys were crazy. They scared the shit out of me. The guys that I were working with scared the shit out of me because they did some stuff out there that to this day I still get nightmares over.
Damn.
They were ruthless guys. Okay.
Well, I know a situation in the book you had talked about, one about where Frankie Baggs got his name. Was that an accurate
Yeah,
story, or was?
Frankie Bags, because he likes to smash fingers and toes and pulls off people's ears and stuff like that, cut off people's ears. He enjoyed that shit. He actually enjoyed it. When I was working with him, I never turned my back on him, because he scared me. But he at the beginning, he was the one that would tell Jimmy, "I'm not working with that fucking black guy, that nigga. Fuck that." But the bosses knew that I was bringing money in. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about me. They did not care. He's earning money for us. So they talk to Joey and Frankie, they have to listen to me. They were my muscle. Isn't that fun? Isn't that hilarious? They're my muscle. And these guys were serious, very serious.
Well, how many years were you with, like, I suppose, doing the collections?
I was doing that for, let's see, almost 8 years.
So you were making lots of money.
Yeah, it was the crazy part about that. All the money that I was making, I was dating this a woman by the name of Nega, and she had 2 kids, and I was helping her raise them, but I was never home a lot. I was keeping money in the drop ceilings in the house. I was stacking it, money, and I was trying to hide it from her. I didn't want to know I had the money up there. She knew that I was doing criminal activity. She didn't care. She didn't ask me anything. But she knew I was doing some bad shit. Sometimes I'd be gone 2 or 3 days, and she knew I was being with other women, whatever. Did I break her heart? Yeah. Until one day I came home and she was gone with the kids, and so it was about $40,000. She took off. She took off. She found I was trying to hide my money from her, and I was gone for a while. And I came back, and she had taken the money I had left.
So she found it, even though you were hiding it, I suppose. But yeah, I mean,
I don't blame her. I don't blame her. It took me a while to find her, right? But I didn't blame her, because you understand something. The cops were always coming to the house. They were on to me. They were coming to the house. There was surveillance in my house. There was questions being asked about me a lot, and the cops knew what I was doing. They knew what I was doing. They knew that I was into bad shit. They knew what I was doing until I finally got arrested. I finally got arrested.
Well, how did you get arrested? And why?
I was kind of set up in a way. And now, don't get me wrong. Now, you could be picked up by the police and not be arrested. I got picked up a lot, but I was never arrested. They couldn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
But they finally built a case against me, and they tried to get me for RICO, a case against me at the Brooklyn Criminal Court building. Secret indictments. They used to give secret indictments out back in the day. Secret indictments. In other words, they come to you. It already went before the grand jury. And I know the address to the 120 Skimmerhorn Street.
Jeez, man.
120 Skim. I was in that building so many damn times. 120 Skimmerhorn Street is the criminal court.
You remember that?
Yeah. And it just caught up with me. They charged me with racketeering and strong arm robberies. And strong arm robberies are like this. I messed with somebody that actually dropped a dime on me. I went to collect money from this guy, and I think it was in Brooklyn, right? And he didn't have everything we were supposed to give to me, right? So I took everything he had on him. He had jewelry. I took his car, everything that he had. And come to find out, he was connected with somebody, and those people knew who I was. And shit rolls downhill. And bad cops, these were bad cops that were on the take, had set me up in the hotel to have me arrested because I went to collect money from him again. He says, "Have my money from me again," and I went there to collect money from him, and the police knocked on the door, and what I did was I pulled a gun out and I held it on him because I didn't know who else was hiding in a closet. And I've been high and snorting whatever. I got a little paranoid, and I hit him. I hit him in the head, and he fell to the floor. It wasn't like in the movies you knock somebody out. It's not like that. It don't work that way. I just hit him to disorientate him so I could escape. And then they charged me with kidnapping just because I held him.
So you got kidnapping and everything. So
but once you go to court and you make these deals, and I wasn't a convicted felon. I am now, and on those charges, they wind up giving me 4 years.
And didn't you get in the program and you were able to get out earlier?
I didn't last in the program because I was violent. I didn't last, because they gave me I forgot what the name of the program was, but it was like my sentence was 2 to 4 years. 2 to 4. They gave me a 1 to 3. I think we broke it back down. They want to give me 2 to 4. But I didn't follow the rules, and I wanted to get out of that. It was like a military camp thing.
Yeah.
That they were trying at that time because I was young,
But it didn't work much. How much did you end up doing then?
Oh, I ended up doing 2 years at that time. And then when I got released, I met my parole officer and I didn't like her, so I didn't show up anymore. I still wasn't done. I still wasn't done. I wanted to go. Jimmy came up to see me a few times, and which was great. He sent me money. I was trying to figure out what am I doing with my life. And then I met the parole officer, and we didn't get along. We just didn't get along at all. And I wind up getting a warrant for my arrest for absconding. It's called absconding. And I think that's what I needed to do. I think I needed to do that.
In order to really make that change?
No, I wasn't ready yet. But I can't tell you how many different times. I got arrested so many different times. But
after prison?
Picked up, yeah. But the final time.
Yeah, okay.
I'll get to that. The final time where I made my change was I was released in 1990. It was 1993, right? 1993.
Yeah.
And I found out that Jimmy was killed. Jimmy got killed. Okay. And they had him. It was horrible. When I found that out, I was really hurt. And then I was really scared. Because I was actually shot at one time. Some guys recognized me. I was at this bodega, and I know the guy that was selling drugs near Chicky. I collected money from a whole bunch of different people, so I couldn't remember everybody. And a couple of Mexican guys were out there, and I was with Neil at that time. And they recognized me because I did bad shit to them in the past. And a fight broke out at the front of Chicky's store. And I didn't like Chicky because Chicky sold drugs to kids. And that fucking guy had a glass eye. He had one eye. Thank God for me, because when he was shooting at me, he missed me quite a few times. But he managed to shoot me in the side. And my friend Neil got stabbed. Neil was in really bad shape. He was in respiratory failure. He was in bad shape because they stabbed him in the stomach and they stabbed him in the back. And we wound up in Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn. And it was just nuts. It was just crazy. It was just, my life was spiraling out of control. So when I finally got released in 1993, I took off. I was wanted. I took off and I went to a place called Fayetteville, North Carolina, because my mom had moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina to be with my sister Renee. So I said, "Fuck it, I'll go down there." But I was a wanted fugitive. I had to find something else to do. I'm a wanted fugitive. What am I going to do? Oh, bounce clubs again. That's it. Off the books. Bounce clubs. I can make money. So I could go into any club and they would hire me.
With your resume, or just because they're just looking for.
They take a look at me
They're
and
looking for
say,
tough guys.
yeah, and I don't sound like I'm from the north. I mean, from the south. I'm from New York. And we could use this guy, you know.
Oh yeah, right
And
away.
I started bouncing clubs. I was making decent money. I was making, maybe about $150 a night, you know, and that's what I started doing. But there was this one guy in there. His name is Troy Thompson, and he paid notice to me. He saw me break up fights. He saw me throw guys out and manhandle people and do whatever. And he took a liking to me. And he was a bail bondsman. That was my first. I used bail bondsmen before I knew who they are. I know what they do. Trust me, I used a ton of them.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to approach me. He's a little guy, right? He didn't know how to approach me, but he said, "Hey," and we see each other there all the time at the club and stuff. And he said, "Hey, Tommy, can I buy you a beer?" I said, "Sure, whatever." And we started talking, and then he started telling me about what he was doing. And I'm a fugitive at this point. I'm a fugitive. He didn't know that. And I said, "Really?" Yeah, he wanted to know how much they were paying me. So I told him what they were paying me. And he says, "Man, you can make a lot more money with me." And then he started explaining to me how it works, how I can get paid and stuff like that. And he gave me some time. It didn't happen right away. It took some time. And then I went with him on a few cases, and I manhandled some people, got them in handcuffs. Meanwhile, I'm a fugitive. Check this shit out. I'm telling you this right now. We were bringing criminals to the Cumberland County Jail, and the cops took a liking to me. Right?
My God.
They didn't even know I got mad warrants for my arrest.
Jeez, man.
And we were dropping people off. That's how small that town was. They didn't, it was like I was nervous every time I went there to drop off a defendant.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to be getting busted by one of these bounty hunters, bail bondsmen.
Yeah. But what happened was 5 years had gone by.
5
5 years. I haven't got caught 5 years. It was 1998 when I got caught.
Uh-huh.
I'm dating this girl named Marion, but I'm dating so many different. I was a womanizer. I was horrible. I was dating Billy, the madam. I was dating Marion, the former stripper. I had so many different girls I was dating. It was ridiculous.
Just all over the place.
I was just all over the fucking place. It was nuts. And I wound up getting her pregnant. That's one thing I did not want to do. Was get a girl pregnant. I didn't want any more kids because I was in trying to see the kids because I had a daughter already with Negra and she had 2 kids and we had a kid together, my daughter Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still in New York City. No, at that time they moved to Orlando, Florida. That's when she took off with the money. She moved to Orlando, Florida. And we were talking again, I was seeing the kids and we were talking and stuff. But what happened was the police, all right. I went to my brother Viotis. My brother Viotis was running an escort service as well.
Right.
Okay? My brother Vito, because I invited him to come down to Fayetteville. And I'm dating Billy. Billy's the biggest madam in North Carolina. She had like 5 different services. My brother came down. He wanted to start a business.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to get into that business because my brother, I just didn't want him to get into that business. And he wanted me to be partners with him. I'm not putting my name on anything. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. I want to get away from this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he got a house and he started prostituting girls. Yes, that's what it is. Escorting girls, it's the same thing. And again, let me say, I'm not proud of any of that stuff at all, but that's the life that I was leading. The police were surveilling his house. And they were taking pictures of everyone going in and out. And they took my picture. And I went to his house. I was trying to get Viotis to get out of that business.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get him to get out of business because I was trying to be a good doer, right? I got Bonnie out of that business, and I got Bonnie to become a bail bondsman. She became a bail bondsman, and she had a nail and tanning salon. She got out of that business. So I was trying to get my brother out of that business. He was hard-headed. He didn't want to listen. You know what I'm saying? And so they surveillanced his house. They found out who I was. So they started surveillancing the house that I was staying at. Until this one day, Marion's pregnant, and we had to go to the supermarket. This is in 1998. We We had to go to the supermarket. And I got to tell you something. I really didn't like her. Marion,
It
I
wasn't
didn't
working
like
out.
her. She was a German girl. I really didn't like her, but she was pregnant. I was trying to do the right thing. She was a pain in the ass. I was trying to do the right thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't like the relationship. I didn't like our relationship. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it.
It just wasn't working.
She knew that I was a fugitive. Okay. She knew I was. I got drunk one night, whatever the case may be, and I told her. And the next thing I know, I'm in the car when I'm going to the supermarket. I hear a helicopter, fucking helicopter, and they must have had every police car in Fayetteville, and then they called all the other counties.
Oh my God, that
It was
many?
like 50. I don't know how many was there. They surrounded us, and right there she starts crying, and I'm thinking, "Bitch, you set me up."
Was that the case? That was the case? She set you up?
No, she didn't. She didn't.
Oh, okay.
It was the police that took me to pick my picture at my brother's place.
Damn.
And they found out who I was.
Yeah.
But I didn't think, I was thinking all kinds of crazy. She set me up. Billy set me up. But it was my own brother. He didn't do it intentionally. It was just he was under surveillance.
Yep. Then they
I found that out because when they everybody came out of those cars. It was like 1,000 cops.
Jeez,
and then the cop comes over to me, and they were like really nervous. He pulls my shirt, he grabs my shirt, and he goes, "Yeah, that's him." Yeah, that's him.
The tattoo. They knew it right there.
Yeah.
They were able to identify you.
And they said, just follow instructions. I said, you got me. That's cool. That's cool. She's crying. And then I'm saying to them, can you get somebody, because she's pregnant, to drive her? And she's making a whole big fucking scene. It's like, if there was video, if at that time if there was cell phones, everybody would be video recording this whole freaking thing.
Yeah,
but I wind up going to Cumberland County Jail, and they got in contact with New York, and New York wanted me bad. The warden at the jail knew me from bringing prisoners. He was worried about him getting in trouble for me dropping off criminals to his fucking place.
Oh yeah. That would have been a big deal.
That never came out for some reason. Never happened.
No, never did.
But he said, I'll give them 30 days to come and get you. If they don't come and get you in 30 days, we'll let you go. They were there in like less than a week.
Yeah, they weren't letting
you
go.
They came down there. They didn't want me because I skipped on parole. They wanted me for unsolved homicides and all kinds of cases, robberies, arson. They wanted, because they bring the FBI into this shit. That's what they wanted, information from me. They didn't give a shit that I had a little small set. Nah, they didn't want. They wanted information. They came here, flew me on a freaking jet, back to New York, back to Rikers Island. After they landed at the LaGuardia Airport, they took me in a freaking. I was like, I'm nobody. What the hell is all of this?
Made a big deal.
I'm nobody. I'm no one. And they just laid it in on me. They wanted. I couldn't give them anything because I'm just saying to you, I didn't know anything. And it comes to they kept me for over a year.
Jeez.
And they couldn't. They were showing me pictures of Jimmy dead, pictures of Joey, Frankie, all these people dead.
Jeez.
Other homicide cases. They were like, you're done for life. You're going to jail. You participated in this. You're going to jail for life. Well, you got me, right? And I got an attorney, and at that time I really didn't have any money, right? So they gave me the court appointed attorney. Yeah. I knew more than he did, and I found out one thing.
What's that?
I found out one thing. If the fish never opened his mouth, he would have never got caught.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't say anything. I said, I don't know anything. Then the FBI got involved, and I didn't know anything. That's what I was telling them. I didn't know anything. Okay, I didn't know anything. And one day, for some reason, it was about, I don't know, maybe I think 16 months later or something. They gave me a wake up. They said, hey, you could go. It took me upstate. I was upstate jail. I think it was that governor at the time, because they kept transferring me. I kept getting into fights, and they would send me to Attica. They would change your classification. I would go to Attica, and I'd be in a cell by myself. But they sent me to this place, this medium classification, jail called Governor. And I went there, and they said, you're getting on the bus. You're going back to New York City. I said, holy shit. So I said, someone's going to kill me when I get off the bus. Somebody connected. That's what's. I said this to myself. I said, they're going to kill me when I get off the bus. They're going to kill me.
No.
So I got off the bus in New York. I had no parole. I didn't nothing. I had anything. Nothing. I hopped in the subway, and I got in contact with my friend Neil. I stayed at his house for a little bit. I kept looking out the windows. I was scared as shit. It was all done. It was over with. I went back to North Carolina.
Well, let me ask you this now. To wrap up on your story, this was the moment after going through all this, going through in and out in court, keeping your mouth shut, and living that that treacherous life. I mean, what really drew you to want to make that change and just go straight and be done? I mean, what was it after this whole experience?
Yeah, well, I met the Zodiac killer on Rikers Island. He's a copycat. Herberto Seda. He was a Zodiac killer of New York. We were in the same cell, and we used to play chess. Because I took a job. Listen, when I was on Rikers Island, I took a job in the visiting room.
Mm-hmm.
In the visiting room, I would hand out jumpsuits to the inmates and stuff like that. I took that job. But what was going on, the inmates were bringing drugs in. They were bringing drugs in, and they asked me to partake in that. And they were the Crips and the Bloods. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting involved with that shit. No, I don't want no part of it. Then they wanted me to quit. They said, well, then you have to quit, man. You have to quit. I said, I ain't quitting, because if I would quit, it would make me look weak. So they sent 2 guys in there to shank me, to kill me. Right? And I wind up beating their asses badly. And then when they put me in cuffs and they took me to, we call it the Bing, B-I-N-G, the Bing, or the box. The warden came down to speak to me. Now the warden, let me tell you this warden has like 3,000 prisoners to deal with. He knows each and every one of you. He does his work. And he knows that I'm not this petty criminal type of guy. I work with some badass people, whatever. He knows I'm not a gangbanger no more. I'm not nothing. He knows. I said to him, get me off the island, and I'll drop a dime. I'll tell you how to get in the drugs in. He agreed. They took me off the island, but they wanted to know right there. And I said, no, get me off the island first. And they took me to this other building called OBCC on the island, because after that fight, the Crips and Bloods were after me. So they took me out of that jail, put me in another jail, and that's why I made the deal. And then they put me on a bus. And they sent me upstate. And then from all this shit that kept happening to me, I'm hanging out with the freaking Zodiac killer, playing checkers. Is that my life? This guy killed 8 people. I'm hanging out, gangbangers, dope dealers, rapists, child molesters. I didn't want that shit no more. I hated that life. And when I got out and they brought me back in 1998 and they finally released me, I went back to North Carolina clean. I had no warrants, no nothing. I was nervous that somebody might try to kill me, but it never happened. I never said not one name, not one legit name to anybody. And I was free. So I went back to Troy, and I went back to Crystal, and I went back to Brian, and I became a bounty hunter. I actually, when I get onto something, I grab it with everything that I got. I went to New Jersey and I took some classes on tracing people at that time, because cell phones were just getting popular at that time, just coming around, those Nokia phones and whatever. It was no smartphones or anything. So I wanted to know how to trace people. I took a class, paid for it. I got certified. And then I got my own contract with a bail bonding agent that I was hunting down. I was getting 10% of the bonds. I made my own team. I hired guys to work for me.
That's awesome, man. And you did it legit.
That's how I changed everything around.
Yeah. See, I mean, it just goes to show.
I'm going to show you something really quick. I'm going to show you something. Hang on a second. I'm going to show you something real quick.
Go ahead. I'll just keep going with this. It's good that we see someone like him that can change their life being around that stuff. Let's see it. What do you got?
This is the original handcuffs that I used for all those years that I worked as a bounty hunter. That's my ID. I worked for the U.S. Bureau of Recovery, and there's my badge.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. I like how you framed it all, man. It
Yeah,
looks badass.
I got all kinds of stuff from bounty hunting in my office, and I was one of the best known bounty hunters in the state of North Carolina. I had guys that would actually, I'm not just saying this to pat myself on the back, but if I'm gonna pat myself on the back, I had guys that got in contact with me want to give themselves up because they don't want me to catch them. Because they heard that, because I told a lot of guys, if you skip on me and I find you, all I have to do is, we're gonna make a stop at the hospital first.
Jeez, man. So they would just
you're
turn
making me
themselves
chase
in.
you. You're making me chase you. We're going to the hospital first because I can't throw you a beating and take you to the deputy's office, the sheriff's department. You can't go there bleeding. We have to take you, patch you up, and then I'll bring you to jail. They said, well, listen, let's make an arrangement. You know what I'm saying? So I had a lot of guys that gave themselves up. I had guys that didn't want to give themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
I give you what you get. If you give me a hard time, I'm going to give you a harder time. If you cool with me and you know that you were wrong and you're willing to follow the steps to try to get out again, I'll let you make phone calls. I'll even buy you something to eat on the way to jail. I've been there. I know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a problem, but don't try to act like it's only going to go one or two ways when you deal with me. Not yours, but my way. That's it. End of story. So that's it. I've arrested when I was writing my book and doing my film. I was trying to count how many cases I had, and I had over 2,000 arrests.
Really?
2,000, more than police officers have in their careers, because that's all I did. That's what I did it for 15 years.
So you did do it for 15 years, man. That's a long time. Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show them, man. I mean, look at all the stuff that you were involved with, that you were around. You were lucky to still be around to be able to continue this path and share your story and work on these projects now. But I mean, you can live life legit, man. You could have made a whole career out of it, though. I mean, you could have done it, so much longer, but you had to go through some certain things and able to get to this path that you went down. So
yes.
What if you could go back and change anything, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Getting on that train that night and going to Manhattan.
That would have changed a lot, man.
That would just doing that on my 17th birthday and then, meeting Jimmy. But listen, here's the thing. Somebody asked me this question once. I was a good wrestler in high school, right? I was a good wrestler in high school because I got into a lot of fights in high school, right? And I never got left back. I was a good book person. As you read my book, I graduated. I graduated college. I did all of that. I went back. But at that time, when all the fighting and all the alcoholism was going on in my home, I joined a wrestling team, and the coach's name was Steve Mendelson. And Steve Mendelson took a liking to me. Now, I had Steve Mendelson as a mentor, and at that same time, I had Jimmy taking me the other way. It was at the same time. Yeah. I wrestled a year and a half, and I was undefeated. I was kicking everyone's ass. College rule wrestling.
Shit, man.
For high school, I was good. I was great. I found something I could do. I could kick ass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the bottom line, right? But somebody asked me, Tommy, if you can go back to that day when Mr. Mendelson, we used to call him Mendy, when Mendy asked you to come back to the team, because I had left it, to come back to the wrestling team, would you have gone? No, because I took the road I was supposed to. Jimmy was my road.
Yeah.
Jimmy was my road because now I'm helping other kids and teenagers, adults, okay? And all this stuff, I want everybody to be very perfectly clear about something. When I was talking about all this criminal activity, all this stuff, I'm not proud of any of that crap. But that's what I was doing at the time, okay? I'm not proud of that at all. None of that stuff. Being a criminal. Hell no. Being on drugs. Being violent. Hurting people. Okay, all the people that I hurt were people that involved with what I was doing. I wasn't the type of guy that I'm going to go stick up a liquor store and say, give me all you got, or rob an old lady. If I see an old lady being robbed in a corner, they'll never find you. Okay? I'm not into that. No, it was all the people I was dealing with were criminals. Does that make it better? No. But I would rather be those type of people. You follow what I'm saying? So
And just citizens and stuff.
yeah, that's the way it was. If you're in this, listen, I chose to be in that lifestyle. You chose to be in that lifestyle. And we're clashing. One of us ends up disappearing. That was the lifestyle we chose. These people that are going 9 to 5 doing their job, they're not in that lifestyle. So don't do anything to them. They're not in that lifestyle. That's how my mind was at that time. Leave them alone. I was hanging out with guys that were gangsters in the bars and they want to pick on civilians. I didn't allow that. I'll kick your ass. You're not hurting no innocent people. Screw that. You're in this with me. This is who we are. But when I became a bounty hunter, I learned a lot more about my life. I'm going to these people's houses and I'm seeing these guys on drugs. I went to this one house out in Sanford, North Carolina, to arrest this guy. I think it was like a $50,000 bond. And I go into his house and the garbage can is overfilled with liquor bottles. The house is all trashy. There's drug paraphernalia everywhere. And there's 4 kids in the house, dirty looking. And there's no food in the refrigerator. I got him in handcuffs on the couch and the kids are on him crying. You know what I'm saying? So I got to get in contact with social services to come there and the sheriff's department. I've seen that hundreds of times. You know, so my mind changed. My whole focus about everything changed. I did a complete 180. Churches now. I talk to teenagers. I don't want people to go through what I went through.
Well, I think that's a great final message. That's what I love to hear when I do these kind of interviews with anybody that was involved with crime and stuff. Like I always want to make it clear and make it a point, because before I didn't make it a point, but that's why, I'm glad that you brought it up. You made it very clear that you don't glamorize any of the stuff. You lived it.
Heck no.
And now you've completely changed your life. So
no, not at all. I had the mayor down here, I'm in Texas right now, but when I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, the mayor, Johnny Dawkins, got a hold of my book, and he got a hold of my book and he wanted to get in contact with me. He got in contact with me because I was of course, living there, and he wanted me to talk to the city council. They were having gang violence, getting out of control with the young African Americans, mostly Hispanics and Blacks, in that area. And I went there like a bolt of lightning. I was there and I spoke to the city council, and that's actually in my film. Now, we did film a documentary, and I asked the mayor, would you allow us to film at City Hall, because I'm doing this documentary. It's going to be helping a lot of people. He said, Tommy, of course.
That's
so
awesome.
He allowed us to film there. And then I had police officers standing in line to shake my hand. They were shaking my hand, and I'm giving them books, and I'm telling them, and this is me. This is I'm a biker guy. This is me. I ride bikes. This is what I do. So I don't have to go there. Of course, I didn't go there with the cut off shirt, but I wore my do-rag and I went there, and this is who I am.
Yeah, just being you.
And just being me. And you got to accept me for who I am. And then I had one of the officers wanted to talk to me about their own teenager.
Really? And you went and talked to him?
He wanted to talk to me because he was heading down the wrong road.
Good. I mean, well, not good that, but I mean, good you went and spoke to him.
Oh, yes, I did. I spoke to him personally too.
That's
cool. I spoke to lots. I go to churches, youth organizations. My son is starting to do this with me now. My son, he's 18.
Yeah.
Excellent student. He's in college. I adopted him.
Oh, okay.
You read in the book. I adopted him.
Yeah. Well, that like I said, I mean, it is awesome that you've done all these things to redemption yourself, reform yourself, I suppose, because a lot of people need to hear these things, and it's just great, Tommy. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, not a problem, man. If anybody wants to find out information about me, all you gotta do is go to www.tommyharding.co, not .com, .co.
Okay.
Or you could just look up, you just Google Tommy Harding Bounty Hunter, or even Tommy Harding, the Black Mobster. I'm all there on all of that stuff. So I appreciate you having me come on. And my film is going to, I don't know when my film is going to be released yet, but we'll talk about that off camera in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Tommy's got a very great redemption story. I myself am so happy now he turned his life around completely. Tommy is another reminder that anything is possible with the help of God. I really like the fact that he is helping at-risk criminals and doing his best to leave a positive mark on this planet. Tommy's book is in the video description below. Again, I highly recommend it. If you enjoyed the interview today, I know you'll enjoy that book where he goes into more detail about his life story. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this interview. Please share this interview with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of video. Also, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. At the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all my other Mafia related interviews I've done in the past. I got a lot on there, so please check it out. I think you'll enjoy them if you enjoyed this interview. Thank you again so much for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one.